Chiefs Kingdom, stop scrolling right now. Arrowhead just erupted with breaking news. And one single number is already shaking St. Joe. Zero edge depth heading into Week 1. A defensive crisis is brewing in Missouri. 3 key stars are officially entering their final months in Kansas City, and training camp footage of Patrick Mahomes just sent absolute shockwaves across the entire NFL. Insiders confirmed the reality this morning, and here is your first concrete payoff. Edge rusher Ethan Downs officially suffered a season-ending ACL tear, leaving George Karlaftis completely isolated on the defensive line. If you bleed red and gold and want to see the Denver Broncos crushed in the season opener, hit like and subscribe right now. We start with Brett Veach's biggest mistake, but stay locked because a double cliffhanger is waiting at the end. Whispers around Missouri Western State University turned into full-blown sirens this morning as the Kansas City Chiefs officially ramped up practice in St. Joe. One critical position group is standing on the edge of a cliff, and the front office is running out of time before the Denver Broncos roll into town for Week 1. The identity everyone is asking about? General Manager Brett Veach and the massive roster hole he failed to patch before opening kickoff. Kansas City simply does not have a reputable edge rushing unit ready for the grueling 2026 regular season. While Patrick Mahomes continues his personal journey back from a torn ACL, the defense is facing a structural emergency that could undermine the entire team. Ever since the championship high of 2022, when the Chiefs racked up over 50 team sacks, getting to the quarterback has been a constant, agonizing struggle. Aside from Chris Jones on the interior and George Karlaftis on the outside, consistent pass rush production has completely vanished. The off-season departures of Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu, and Derek Noddy were long overdue, but replacing them has turned into a dangerous game of high-stakes gambling. To his credit, Veach took some bold steps to rebuild the defensive line depth. He brought in veteran nose tackle Khyiris Tonga on a 3-year contract to eat up double teams with his massive 340-pound frame. He also drafted promising young talents like Peter Woods and speed rusher R. Mason Thomas to build for the future. But even with the return of Omar Norman-Lott, the edge rusher rotation is dangerously thin. The situation went from concerning to outright desperate when rookie Ethan Downs went down just days ago with a season-ending torn ACL. While Downs was not slated for heavy snaps, his loss stripped away the last remaining cushion in a depleted room. George Karlaftis remains the undisputed anchor of this unit. He does not win with raw bend or explosive speed, but rather with relentless power, grit, and high motor effort that keeps him near the top of the league in total quarterback pressures. However, relying on Karlaftis alone is a recipe for disaster. Second-year defender Ashton Gillott showed glimpses of improvement late last year, but thrusting him into a full-time starter workload is a massive gamble. Rookie R. Mason Thomas brings exciting quickness, but history proves that rookie pass rushers rarely rack up 8 to 10 sacks right out of the gate. And then there is fourth-year former first-round pick Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who is now being forced into playing over 30% of defensive snaps despite showing virtually nothing in his professional career. According to insiders like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, rumors suggest Veach has been quietly monitoring the veteran free agent market, but no deal has been struck. Leaving this pass rush room in its current state as camp unfolds is pure malpractice. Kansas City does not need a costly superstar, but they desperately need a proven veteran who can log 20 to 25 quality snaps a game, so opposing coordinators cannot double-team Karlaftis on every single third down. If this edge rush unit fails to generate pressure, the entire secondary will be exposed to opposing quarterbacks, turning close games into nightmare shootouts. How many sacks do you think George Karlaftis will record this season without secondary help? Drop your exact number in the comments right now. And if you agree that Brett Veach needs to sign a veteran pass rusher immediately before Week 1, smash that like button and show the front office where the kingdom stands. As alarming as this defensive line situation is, the front office is already making moves for the future that will send shockwaves through the locker room. Because 3 key defensive leaders are officially entering what could be their final season in Kansas City. And one of them is a former first-round pick who is running out of second chances. Stay locked because the chopping block is set. While 90 players fight for 53 active spots at one Arrowhead Drive, the front office is already planning the roster strategy for 2027 and beyond. Brett Veach has built a dynasty by staying ruthless, letting players walk right as their physical prime begins to fade, and constantly injecting fresh talent. A move 3 years in the making is finally coming to its natural end. The identities everyone is whispering about? Linebacker Drew Tranquill, cornerback Christian Fulton, and edge rusher Felix Anudike-Uzomah, 3 defensive contributors who are very likely playing their final snaps in a Kansas City uniform. Nothing is ever fully guaranteed in the NFL, but contract mechanics and age curves reveal the brutal reality of modern roster construction. Drew Tranquill came incredibly close to leaving Kansas City earlier this spring before agreeing to take a significant pay cut on a reworked one-year deal in mid-March. Tranquill earned widespread respect across the locker room for understanding the business side of football, but the cold truth remains that the open market did not see long-term value in a linebacker who will turn 31 before the season ends. Last year, Tranquill logged roughly 80% of defensive snaps, racking up over 100 total tackles and forcing a critical fumble. He remains a reliable, high IQ linebacker sitting alongside Nick Bolton, but extending a 31-year-old off-ball linebacker simply does not fit Veach's financial philosophy. Unless he produces an All-Pro campaign, 2026 will be his final ride in red and gold. Then there is Kristian Fulton, whose tenure in Kansas City can only be described as an absolute disappointment. Fulton arrived from the Los Angeles Chargers on a lucrative 2-year, $20 million contract expected to hold down a starting cornerback spot. Instead, nagging soft tissue injuries and benchings kept him off the field for almost the entire 2025 campaign, limiting him to a paltry 208 snaps across 8 games. Now pushing 28 years old and carrying a hefty $13 million cap hit, Fulton is not only unlikely to earn an extension, but according to league insiders, rumors indicate he could be a surprise cut before August cuts if younger cornerbacks step up. Finally, we arrive at the most painful draft miss of Brett Veach's career. Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Drafted in the first round back in 2023 out of Kansas State, the local prospect was envisioned as the future of Kansas City's edge rush. Instead, after missing the entire 2025 season with a severe hamstring injury, FAU has recorded just 4 sacks and 24 solo tackles over 2 active seasons. Despite the team's desperate need for pass rushers, he could barely earn rotational snaps. While he will get one last opportunity due to the current lack of roster depth, it is almost impossible to imagine a 5th-year option or contract extension. Even if he somehow scrambles for 5 sacks this year, both sides are expected to seek a clean breakup in 2027. Losing veterans creates immediate financial flexibility, freeing up millions in cap space for future extensions, but it puts immense pressure on this current season. If these 3 players fail to perform in their contract years, Kansas City's defensive depth could crumble before December. Which of these 3 players do you think deserves one last chance in Kansas City? Tranquill, Fulton, or Anudike-Uzomah? Sound off in the comments below with your thoughts. If you believe Brett Veach is making the right business decision by moving on, hit that like button and subscribe for daily Chiefs breakdown. However, roster turnover and contract drama mean absolutely nothing compared to the massive storm that just erupted on the practice field in St. Joe. Because training camp footage of Patrick Mahomes just leaked to the public, and fans are completely panicking over what they saw on his rehabilitated leg. Is the dynasty in immediate jeopardy, or is this just online paranoia? The viral footage breakdown comes next. A single video clip recorded at training camp in St. Joe just sent football fans into absolute hysteria across social media. Following a devastating season-ending knee injury late last year, the 2-time Super Bowl MVP returned to 11-on-11 team drills this week. But instead of relief, the first video reps sparked widespread panic and heated debates online. Whispers turned into headlines in a matter of seconds. The name dominating every conversation? Patrick Mahomes, and the noticeable limp that has thousands of fans claiming the season is over before it even begins. The medical context behind this moment is monumental. Patrick Mahomes suffered a catastrophic tear of both his ACL and LCL in Week 15 against the Los Angeles Chargers last December, underwent surgery immediately after, and spent 7 brutal months in aggressive rehabilitation. His absence triggered a total collapse as Kansas City stumbled to an agonizing 6-11 record and missed the postseason for the first time in over a decade. Despite missing the final stretch, Mahomes still finished 2025 with 22 touchdown passes and a top 6 QBR in the entire league. After receiving full medical clearance from head coach Andy Reid last Friday, the 30-year-old superstar stepped back onto the practice field to rebuild his workload ahead of the 2026 opener against Denver. However, high-definition practice footage quickly circulated on X, formerly Twitter, causing blood pressure readings to spike across Chiefs Kingdom. Observant fans pointed out what appeared to be visible muscle atrophy in his left leg, noting that his left quad looked noticeably skinnier than his right leg. Other fans fixated on his mechanics as he walked off the field between reps, claiming he was hobbling and limping unnaturally. Comments poured in by the thousands, with worried supporters writing statements like, "Is it just me or was Mahomes limping weird at the end?" While rival fans chimed in with, "Yeah, it is over," and "Well, that is ominous." The psychological toll on the fanbase is understandable given how much rests on Mahomes' shoulders, especially after the front office traded away key defensive talent to the Los Angeles Rams, piling even more pressure on the offense to hit the ground running. The reality of major knee surgery recovery, however, tells a very different story. Medical experts and insiders like Ian Rappaport emphasize that post-ACL gait changes and minor leg asymmetry are completely standard at 7 months, especially as an elite athlete reacclimates to full contact speed. In fact, Mahomes himself candidly admitted to ESPN that the recovery process is far from over and that he will likely manage the knee for the next few years of his career. He has actively sought recovery advice from NFL legends like Tom Brady, who famously returned from a torn ACL to win Comeback Player of the Year, as well as Tyrann Mathieu and Zach Ertz. During Wednesday's practice, Mahomes completed passes to Jared Wiley, Travis Kelce, and rookie Cyrus Allen, proving his throwing platform and field vision remain elite. If Mahomes is truly operating at 85 or 90% early in the year, Andy Reid will need to rely heavily on newly acquired running back Kenneth Walker III to carry the offensive load and protect his franchise quarterback. Do you believe Patrick Mahomes will be back to 100% by Week 1, or are you genuinely concerned about his movement? Cast your vote in the comments right now. And if you believe Mahomes will silence all the doubters and lead Kansas City back to the playoffs, smash that like button right now and back your quarterback. The physical state of Mahomes' left leg could define the entire trajectory of the 2026 NFL season. But while Chiefs Kingdom holds its breath over every practice rep in St. Joe, an unexpected roster development just broke in Denver that could completely flip the AFC West hierarchy overnight. The final breakdown and our double cliffhanger are coming up right now. 3 massive stories, 1 pivotal season. The edge rusher shortage puts immense pressure on George Karlaftis, the upcoming 2027 departures signal a major defensive transition, and Patrick Mahomes' knee recovery remains the single biggest storyline in professional sports. Kansas City does not run away from adversity. Kansas City conquers it. This franchise is out to prove that a 6-11 fluke season was nothing more than a temporary setup for the greatest comeback story in modern football history. If Brett Veach adds one last veteran pass rusher and Kenneth Walker III balances the offensive workload, the path back to the top of the AFC West is wide open. The division still runs through Arrowhead, and Week 1 against Denver is the ultimate chance to set the tone. But execution must be flawless from day one. Here is what I need from Chiefs Kingdom right now. First, smash that like button if you stand behind Patrick Mahomes and believe Kansas City is taking back the AFC West crown. Second, drop a comment with your exact record prediction for the 2026 season. Are we winning 12 games or are you worried about the defense? Third, hit subscribe immediately, because every new subscriber makes Broncos and Raiders fans absolutely sick, and we are covering every single camp update live from St. Joe. Listen closely because the next 48 hours will change everything. Rumors are circulating that Brett Veach is preparing to make a late free agent splash at edge rusher before the week ends. On top of that, the Denver Broncos just held an emergency team meeting after learning about a secret injury to one of their defensive captains. Which domino falls first? Subscribe now, stay locked, and let's make Arrowhead louder than ever. Kingdom rise.